Hello there, world history students. Let's learn all about imperialism in Africa. Imperialism was a pretty messed up time in world history where Europeans are just going to take over Africa and do a lot of really messed up stuff to this continent. So let's check it out. So here's all these different European countries grabbing their hold of Africa and going to plant their culture and take a bunch of Africa's resources. Here's kind of this vibe that they had there. It's like these civilized white people are coming into Africa and taking over the continent. And then here they are teaching Africans how to read in the Romanized alphabet. And this is what's going to ultimately happen to Africa. It's going to get split between 7 countries. They're going to take over the vast majority of the continent. And still to this day, there's a lot of cultural legacies from these European countries on these various parts of Africa. Okay, so what is imperialism? Imperialism is when stronger nations extend their economic, political, and social control over weaker nations. And Europe had just gone through the Industrial Revolution. They've got all this new technology, all this new power. Africa is still kind of in the Middle Ages. So when Europeans are going to come in, they're going to just be outgunning and outmanning these Africans 10 times over. So let's check it out. This is what Africa looked like before Europeans got involved. There was a whole lot of different countries, as you see, all over Africa. But when Europeans get involved, they're going to ignore all these traditional countries, these traditional cultures, and they're just going to impose their culture on everybody. It's kind of weird this is upside down. But yeah, this is all the individual cultures of Africa. So if Africa was allowed to make their own countries, the countries would probably have borders along these lines, because these are where there's various linguistic groups and various religious groups. But when Europeans came, they just sort of put everybody in the same bucket, and it's created some negative effects lasting even until today. Because, yeah, all those different cultures you saw on that last map now get converted into 8 cultures. And it's not going to work out. Okay, so why did Europeans leave Africa alone for the vast majority of history? Well, I told you that there was obviously the slave trade that happened in the 1500s, but that was mostly European ships kind of got along the coast and they made deals on the beaches and then they took the slaves to the New World. Europeans never really went into the interior of Africa for these 3 reasons. Northern Africa was just too hot and too big. I remember reading accounts of ancient Rome where they thought the Sahara Desert literally just went on forever. The middle part of Africa was too much disease. There were a lot of tropical diseases like yellow fever, which just knocked white people down. So Europeans never really explored the central part of Africa. And the southern part of Africa had a lot of really hardcore warrior societies. There were definitely accounts when ships were kind of sailing around southern Africa. They would try to trade with people there, and they wouldn't have any trading. They would just get out their spears and go and fight back against anybody who would get in that part of Africa. So these were the 3 things that were really holding Africa back for so long. Oh, and also, yeah, Ethiopia, also a Christian country. They had some really cool plays to make throughout history. So they outwitted Europeans a lot. So these were the reasons why Europeans didn't mess with Africa before this period. But the Industrial Revolution is going to solve just about all these problems. Okay? So the Industrial Revolution made imperialism in Africa possible because Europeans invented steamboats. And with steamboats, they can go really fast to all the different parts of Africa. They can sail up those rivers, especially in the center of Africa. They also made vaccines. I talked about vaccines in the last unit. But vaccines conquered disease, so you no longer have to worry about yellow fever and malaria and smallpox. So Europeans get vaccinated, now they can properly explore the interior of Africa. But the most important thing that led to Europeans imperializing Africa were their new military developments. These industrialized Europeans created way better guns than anything before in world history. They especially created this technique called rifling. And here, I'll zoom in on it real quick. But if you actually cut open the barrel of a gun, you'll see that it has this kind of spiral effect to it. It's sort of like, when you throw a football, you got to throw it in a spiral. Well, Europeans adapted that technology to their firearms, and when you have a rifled barrel like this, the bullets go really straight and they're a lot more accurate. So European guns just got way more effective at killing people. Also, machine guns. I mean, you just bullet after bullet after bullet. And these new technologies are just going to make African military resistance not as effective, or hardly effective at all. So the inventions of the Industrial Revolution are going to lead to some serious negative consequences for the African continent. Okay, let's check it out. So here's a steamboat going up the river, and some African tribesmen are trying to, figure out what's going on. And here's vaccines, so these are going to make all those diseases immune to white people. Here's machine guns, rifling, as I said before. Here they are fighting some battles against some African empires. Here's another one fighting it out. And yep, guns versus spears. Not a good altercation for the spears. Okay, and so why were Europeans in Africa? Well, they were in it for the stuff. Africa has a lot of gold, diamonds, ivory, rubber. If you remember from my last unit about Africa, Africa is the most mineral wealthy continent in the world. And Europeans knew that, and they knew that they didn't have the military capability to resist them, so Europeans took it over. And the thing is, a lot of the European press during this time period said that they were bringing the benefits of civilization to this neglected continent. And they sold it in the newspapers like they were doing a good thing. But the historical reality of it is they were just plundering Africa for everything it had. And there's this concept called the white man's burden. It's a very racist concept, but it says that, because white people invented all this new fancy stuff in history, that it's now their obligation to spread their knowledge, to spread their inventions around the world. And hey, if we just happen to get some gold and diamonds and ivory and rubber out of it, well, hey, whatever. But yep, that's the white man's burden right there. These are rubber trees. I'm going to deep dive into this a little bit later. But yeah, this is where you can get rubber. Rubber is this kind of gooey stuff that comes out of certain trees. And the elephant tusks there, that's where you get ivory. And yep, that's what ivory looks like. So you just get an elephant's tusks and you just carve it out and make some cool looking stuff. Piano keys. And okay. So, pictures of Africa's wealth. Yeah, let's check it out here. So these are some more tapping of rubber trees. So you can kind of carve out the tree in a way that the rubber will just slowly accumulate in these little buckets at the bottom here. So here's a guy even doing it today. You kind of carve it in the spiral shape. Here's a bunch of gold in Africa. Holy cow. And I'll zoom in on the Kimberley Diamond Mine. The Kimberley Diamond Mine is actually relatively famous in world history because when Europeans discovered it in South Africa, they just got some shovels, dug the shovels in the ground, and as soon as they put the dirt up, it was just diamonds as far as you could see. It was just so many diamonds in one spot. It's ridiculous. And the De Beers Diamond Company, which is still a major wedding ring provider even in our world today, they got all this out of Africa, and they stole it back 150 years ago, and they're still selling those diamonds today. It's kind of messed up. All right, here they are carving out rubber trees and accumulating all the rubber. Here they are finding some gold and diamonds. And this is where you'll find diamonds in the world today. A couple places in Canada, Russia, Australia, but so many more diamonds in Africa, especially southern Africa. And this is what Kimberley looks like today. So as you can see, they found a couple spots with diamonds, and they dug these giant holes to get out as much diamonds as they could. So it doesn't look very good for the landscape, and I mean, I'm sure a lot of problems can happen where there's a big giant hole in your city. So this is the reality of European imperialism. And here they are having a bunch of people work for them, mining out Africa's resources. And they didn't really share a lot with the people of Africa. Super messed up. Okay, so this scramble for Africa is sort of what this whole unit is about. And it was a period between 1880 to 1920 where almost all of Africa, I think with only 3 or 2 exceptions, was conquered by European countries. And this all began at an event called the Berlin Conference of 1884. Various European powers met, and they set rules on how Africa could be controlled. And no Africans attended that meeting. It's super messed up that a bunch of these political leaders in Europe were able to all gather together in Berlin, draw a map of Africa, and say, okay, Britain, you get this part, France, you get this part, Portugal, you get this part. So they just cut it out on a map. They didn't have any reference to where various tribal people lived, to where various existing countries were. They just sort of made all of Africa's decisions without Africa being a part of it. And a lot of those decisions have ramifications to this day. Pretty messed up. Okay. So this is what they did at the Berlin Conference, decided who would get which parts of Africa. Here's a little political cartoon about it. You see these Europeans just planting their flags all over a defeated African. And there they are cutting up Africa's cake. And while Africa was just trying to sleep and stay out of the global politics, Europeans come in and just imperialize the heck out of it. All right, I'll save this part for the next video. Peace out.